Welcome to the GetRealWealth.com radio show, where wealth means a lot more than just building a second stream of income. Listen and learn how 70% of the millionaires in America used real estate to create a lifestyle that most people only dream about. A lifestyle that includes good health, family, romance, travel, charity, and all the other parts of a balanced life. Now, here is your host, real estate investor and mentor, Steve Davis.
Good afternoon and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Steve Davis, where as always we're talking about using real estate to build wealth and primarily a second stream of income that meets and exceeds your wants and needs every month, making you financially independent of a job or corporation or wherever your current income is coming from. And this is a supplement for most people. It's a supplement to their job. Most people, this surprised me over the 30 years I've been doing this, that the vast majority of people, even when they have enough passive income that they could quit their job, they don't. Because, as one lady put it, she said, when I first graduated college and I got this job, I thought it was the greatest job in the world. I was so happy. But over time, living paycheck to paycheck and just going through the corporate America BS and all the stuff that comes along with the job, she lost that joy in that job. And I'll finish what she said. She goes, man, the joy's back, Steve. Now that I don't need that job and I'm doing it because I love it, it's totally different. And I think that is the answer to why so many people either stay at their job or they quit that job and go find a job they do love. Deepak Chopra talks about this with his sons. His sons were making tremendous amount of money when they were in college. And what he did was, from the time they were old enough to walk, he told them, don't ever worry about money. Find out why you're here. What is your purpose? How are you going to help and serve other people? You focus on that. I'll take care of you financially until you figure that out. Now, that's a pretty gutsy thing to say. I'm going to take care of you financially. Don't worry about making money. Worry about how you're here to help and serve other people. Well, his kids ended up figuring it out and making lots of money, and Deepak didn't have to pay their bills. They don't live at home, to say the least. So being in a job that you love, the other thing it does, when you're in a job you love, you're going to make more money. That's all there is to it. You may not make it right off the bat, but if you are at something you love and you're constantly reading and getting better at what you love and studying and taking courses and getting better and better and better at what you do, does it make sense you're probably going to end up making more money than if you're a job that you hate, that you literally look forward to Wednesday as hump day and Friday, and then thank God it's Friday because the only time you enjoy your life is on the weekend? And by the way, that's how you define whether or not your job sucks. If you think hump day is an important day because you're halfway to the weekend, or you think, thank God it's Friday, because your job sucks. You don't like it. It doesn't suck for everybody. There's somebody who would love to have your job and would be happy doing it, but you're obviously not happy. I can tell you this. I look forward to Monday morning as equally as much as I look forward to Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or whatever, because I found my purpose, I found what brings me joy, and there's nothing like it. So as you're building your passive income and you get close to that point where you can quit your job, don't do it immediately. Let it sit for a month or two and see if the joy doesn't come back that you had when you first got the job. Because a lot of you can relate to that story I shared. I guarantee it. When you first got that job, it was the greatest thing in the world. But after being beat down and, doing it just for the money, and even then the money doesn't come because you're living paycheck to paycheck, it beats you down and you lose that original joy. Give it time to come back. If it doesn't come back, then it's time to switch jobs. It really is. Get into something you love to do. So let's revisit property management, because I left one story out yesterday when we were discussing property leasing and property management that is important, and it's how to deal with tenant problems. People that I see that have trouble running real estate are very reactive people. When something goes wrong, they react to it. See, there's a difference between these two words, and you want to make a distinction in your head permanently, because this will change your life with your kids, with your spouse, even with yourself, even when you communicate with yourself. You can either react to the outside stimulus, a problem with the rent property or a problem with your child, or you can respond to it. Zig Ziglar tells the story so that you can remember this, of going to the doctor and getting a shot. And the next day the doctor goes, "Whoa, you're reacting to that shot." That's not a good thing. But if he says you're responding to the shot, that is a good thing. So that's how you make that distinction in your head. Reacting, think of a knee-jerk reaction, and responding, where you go into the gap of thought and you think before you respond and come up with the best option possible, instead of just reacting and going with your history, because that's what it is. If you're reacting, you're just going with your responses from the past, even though they may not have worked in the past. I know everybody's done that. I guarantee it. I've done it, where you do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. That's a form of insanity, first off. But people who are reactive are using the same behavior to get people to change. It didn't work before, it's not going to work now. So let me give you a sample phone call. Pretend I'm not going to do the voice of the tenant, but you'll be able to tell what I'm talking about. Tenant calls me, and they've only been with me, and I have told this story before, but I wanted to get it out in association with yesterday's show. I'm going to have to wait because we've only got about 45 seconds before we go to break. When we come back from the break, I'll do that. Because the way that you respond to your tenants is the way that they will, as a rule, react or respond. Now, you can't trust that your tenant knows the difference between those two things. In fact, I will suggest they don't. Very few people do. So you've got to understand they're going to react, knee-jerk reaction, to whatever you say. So you want to say something that doesn't draw out that knee-jerk reaction. And we'll talk about that after the break here on the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I'm your host, Steve Davis. You can call me at 281-558-5738. You're listening to AM 700 KSEV, the voice of Texas. Thanks for listening. Did you know that 70% of the millionaires in America used real estate as their main investment vehicle? You can and should have some real estate in your portfolio. This is Steve Davis, host of the GetRealWealth.com radio show. Starting with bad credit and no money at age 27, I began investing in real estate. By 30, I was retired. I will be explaining this at a free 2-hour introductory workshop this month. If you would like to attend, go to GetRealWealth.com. That's GetRealWealth.com. Thank you for listening. Welcome back to the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I'm your host, Steve Davis. You can call me right now with any question that you have. Don't worry about the subject matter we're covering. It's Ask Steve at GetRealWealth.com. Ask Steve at GetRealWealth.com or 281-558-5738. 281-558-5738. That's KSEV. 281-558-5738. KSEV. And remember, if you're a little shy or you feel like you got a dumb question, use a fake name, but let's get that question answered, because I can promise you, I've been at this 30 years. I've never heard a dumb question. Let me think about it. I literally haven't, because I can understand where you're coming from, because I was there. You know, I was a health club instructor, and I was reading every book I could get my hands on real estate investing. So I had every question that you have. You think it's a dumb question? Call anyway. I promise you it's not. 281-558-5738. Now, let's go back to this phone call I promised you, where a tenant who's only been with me for 2 months calls and said they can't pay until the 15th. We will then do a phone call where a tenant has been with me for 2 years and always paid on time and needs to pay on the 15th. In this particular case, the individual calls me and says, you'll understand this after I get going, and says, look, I can't pay until the 15th. This is my response. Okay, no problem. Can you be out in 3 days? No. I'm not mad at you. No, not at all. It's just you've only been with me for 2 months and you're already going to be behind on your rent. And that's just not a good business partnership, which is what a lease is. And I just can't have someone in there that can't afford it. And I don't think you should be in a property that you can't afford. So if it's something that you can't afford, let's just go ahead and move and, end the relationship. Did you know, now I'm now talking to you through the air. Did you know that every time I've done that, the tenant has shown up with the rent? Every single time. Now, is that going to happen to you? I think the odds are against it. Sometimes they really don't have the money and they need to move. But in most cases, they can get the money. In other words, why should I loan them the money? Shouldn't a relative of theirs loan them the money? Perhaps a church or something like that loan them the money? Certainly. Because remember, they've only been with me for 2 months. But did you see how I did not raise my voice? It was emotionless. Because if you raise your voice, what are they going to do if they're reactive? Which, as we discussed, most people are. They're going to raise their voice. And there's an old phrase, you can't get blood from a, what is it? Turnip? It's so old, I don't know it anymore. You can't get blood from a turnip or something like that. You can't get money from somebody that doesn't have it. So you raising your voice and threatening and cursing, it does absolutely nothing. It accomplishes one thing, which is upsetting you. You get upset, you've wasted your energy, and then your spouse walks in and you yell at them when you're not even really mad at them, you're mad at the tenant. Ever done that? I know I have. So that's how you handle every single phone call. Now, most phone calls are just, AC went out, okay, great, no problem. I'll call my AC guy and have him call you here in the next few minutes. Boom, end of conversation. That's how long. This is why I don't understand people saying, rent property consumes a bunch of time. It takes 5 minutes to solve a problem. Tenant calls you, you call the AC guy calls them, sets up the appointment, goes and does it. Then you subtract $250 that the tenant pays and pay the rest if it's over $250, which, as I've mentioned, something like 70 or 80% of repairs are under $250, so it's probably not even going to be $250, and they have to pay the whole thing. And then probably 95% of problems that a tenant has, tenants have, are their responsibility anyway. Maintenance costs are very low if you understand the law and you understand what the tenant is responsible in a single-family house. In an apartment complex, it's different. Let's go to the phone lines, and then we'll do that other phone call. Phone lines are open, 281-558-KSEV. Let's go to South Houston and talk to Sam. Sam, thanks a lot for calling in. How are you today?
Yes, I'm good, Steve. Steve, I have this is a lease question. I have an addendum on one of my leases where I can go check the property after 6 months.
Yeah.
That they've been there. So I went to check the property, and I found that the renter had removed or had switched out my thermostat, the AC thermostat.
Okay.
Without my permission. And I found some problem with the heat, and they told me the heater's not working. I said, well, why didn't you tell me? Well, that's when I found out about that. So, how should I, well, let's see, I told them that you're doing, this is a violation of the lease, and you need to, I told them that I need to reinstall my thermostat.
Well, what kind of thermostat did they put? A internet-based thermostat in there, something really fancy, or what did they? Why did they replace it?
I think they installed one of these Nest thermostats.
Yeah. Okay. I see what they did. What I would do, Sam, is I would leave them alone and just say, look, you've got to put, because those Nests are fine. I've got one, but they've got, when they move out, they either have to leave it with you or put the other one back on.
Right.
And I'd leave them alone. In other words, it's not something I'd harass them about. I'm still curious why they didn't tell you that the heater wasn't working. It sounds like they may have miswired it.
Right. That could have happened when whoever did it, if he didn't cut off the power, that could have shorted out the heating system.
Yeah, and they may have done it themselves. Did they say they did?
Well, he said that he hired a guy to do it, and I thought that was wrong too, or to hire someone. He should have told me that
he should have told you. Absolutely.
And I could have had my own technician do that.
Absolutely.
And charge them for that.
What I would do is tell your technician, your AC guy, to go over there to fix the heater, but let him know your suspicions.
Right.
He'll be able to tell that, and then if it is their problem, then bill the tenant.
They'll have to pay for it.
Correct.
But once it's fixed, should I leave that thermostat? Leave their thermostat?
Yeah, get your AC guy to give you advice on that. I would, because I have tenants change out stuff for the internet-based stuff all the time. I mean, 5 or 6 times I've seen it and never had a problem. But they always take it with them because those things are like $250.
Right, they are, right. But technically, and my lease says that once they change something out, it's my property.
Yeah, mine says that too.
I can tell.
That's why I tell them, if you're going to take it, you've got to put the other one back on. It's got to be working.
Right. Okay, but I can. I was going to bill them if I find there's a problem. I'm going to give them. I'm going to meet with them and tell them, okay, if my technician finds that whoever installed this your thermostat caused the problem, then you have to pay for that.
Yeah, they need to understand that.
Right. Okay. All right. Thank you, Steve.
All right, Sam. Good luck.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, I have had people. I actually had a couple. I don't normally do this, but I bought a house with a washer and dryer, and this is what I did. I gave the washer and dryer to him. I said, there's a washer and dryer here. It's yours. Don't call me for repairs. The house does not come with a washer and dryer. I'm gifting you the washer and dryer because I don't want to deal with it. And they actually sold that and bought really nice washer and dryer and put it in there. I don't care. I've had people put Honeywell, I think it was either Honeywell or Nest, thermostats in, and I make them, they understand they've got to take them out. If they leave them, it's mine, because those things are really pretty darn neat. So again, Sam, I wouldn't start a war about take it out now, put the old one back on. I'd say, look, when you decide to move out, you've got to put that one back on there by a professional. You've got to use my AC guy, the professional, and he'll put it back on and give you your nest so you can take it with you. But do require them to use your AC guy, because it sounds like you got a good AC guy from the way you said it. Okay, phone lines are open, 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV. So let's go to the next situation, which is someone who's been with me for 2 years and always paid on time, and they need till the 15th. My answer is absolutely, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. You have been great tenants for 2 years, always paid on time. I believe you. You do have a problem, so I'll accept rent on the 15th. I will require the initial late charge, but I will not charge you daily. But guess what I send them on the 12th? A 3-day eviction notice. Guess what they do? They call. And they say, I thought I had till the 15th. You do. That's a 3-day eviction notice. I'm just covering my rear end in case you don't show up on the 15th and pay. I've got the eviction process started so I don't go a long time without rent. But no problem. Just make sure you pay on the 15th and you'll be fine. End of discussion. Cover your rear end. Your real estate is not your charity. You're not here to let people live for free. You should give 10% of your profits to charity, but that's totally different. You don't give that's not your charity. Your charity is from your money. Okay, phone lines are open, 281-558-KSEV. This is the GetRealWealth.com radio show here on AM 700 KSEV, the voice of Texas. Thanks for listening. 70% of the millionaires in America used real estate as their main investment vehicle. Listen to the GetRealWealth.com radio show to find out how you can do it too. Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. right here on AM 700 KSEV, the voice of Texas. Welcome back to the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I'm your host, Steve Davis. Phone lines are open right now, 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV. This is AM 700 KSEV. We're on every day from 2 to 3, Monday through Friday, I should say, and then Saturday morning at 9 a.m. So we, again, spent the first two segments talking about primarily some techniques for communicating with your tenants. Be careful of any emotion getting involved. No matter how frustrating it is, it's just business. That's it. And remember, being frustrated is a decision that you make. It's a choice. Remember, nothing and nobody can make you feel a certain way. You have to make a conscious decision to feel that way. In other words, you can go up to a pretty girl and say, wow, you look beautiful today, and they can take it as offensive or they can take it as a compliment. They decide how they're going to feel about it. Does that make sense? It's the same thing with you. Anything that is said to you or done to you, you have a choice in how you're going to react or respond. And you want to focus on mastering the response. You want to control your response and keep them from getting upset, keep them from getting mad. And, you get a mad tenant, they can do stupid stuff. I've been fortunate never to have it done, but I've heard of people getting in fights with tenants, and then the tenant goes and kicks holes in the wall, pours concrete down the toilet. You don't want that. This is why I brag about this. I've only been to one eviction in 30 years, and that one wasn't a tenant that I put in. It was somebody else. So the reason I've never had evictions is because of my ability to respond instead of react, and to stay friendly even though I'm evicting people. I've actually gotten hugs from people I've evicted because they feel bad. They're like, he didn't get mad at me, I just couldn't pay the rent. And they know it's their fault. So keep that in mind. You're responsible for your response. Don't ever think that outside factors make you feel a certain way. That's your choice. You make a choice to feel frustrated. You make a choice to feel angry. If you want to study this, pick up the book. It's very small. You can read it in a couple of days. It takes me a week because I'm a slow reader, but most people can read it in a couple of days. It's by Viktor Frankl, and it's Man's Search for Meaning. Now, some of you are going to read that book and go, what's this got to do? I'll tell you what it has to do with it. It's decisions. You have one freedom that no one can ever take away from you, and that is the freedom to decide how you're going to respond to outside stimulus, be it verbal or physical. And he tells a story. He was in the Nazi prison camps, and they were doing experiments on him, and I'm sure he was in massive pain. I'm sure he was hungry, starving. Just horrible, horrible situation beyond anything any of us hopefully will ever experience. And he said he remembered laying on that table and the people having this epiphany where he realized they can do anything they want to my body, but they cannot take the freedom that I have to decide how I'm going to respond to it. So if that can be handled, don't you think a few phone calls from a tenant can be handled pretty well? Very easily. Once you master this, dealing with tenants it's like dealing with a friend that has a problem. It's amazing. So you should have very few evictions. I talk people into moving out all the time. Like I said, I've never been to court for an eviction, except that one time where somebody else put a bad tenant in. I don't even think I'm going to mention that anymore because that really wasn't even my property. My record stands. I've never been to court for an eviction on one of my properties because I've always worked with the tenant. I was always kind to them. Remember yesterday, I'm a bear when they move in. I'm a little lamb once they're in. But this lamb knows the principles and is going to get them out of there if they don't pay their rent. And I've always been able to talk people into moving out without having to go to eviction because of that technique that I just shared with you, which is respond to those questions, respond to those problems, do not react to them. So I hope that helps any of you that already have property. It will definitely help the people who have never owned property and are about to buy their first property, because it will save you massive amounts of time and massive amounts of money. Okay, let's go to a couple of questions, and then the final segment we'll hit on the other subject. This email is important because, man, it's Steve again. I get a ton of Steves. It's renting out individual rooms in a single family house. Steve, I don't like that idea at all unless they're college students and they're all going to the same college and they're all in about the same grade. It's this putting 3 different personalities that are not married into one house is just risky. It's going to be time consuming. But if you're going to do it, you sign a separate lease with each one of them individually. Because one of them's going to move out, and then you still have leases on the other 2. It's going to happen, I'm telling you. You're going to have massive turnover, with the exception of a house that's near a university, a major university, and you're putting in college students. So, Steve, I'm going to email you back and find out exactly what you're doing. But my recommendation is no, no, and no. It is so much easier to just put a family in there. I mean, you go years without even a phone call on some of these houses. You put 3 kids in there that are college students, Plus, they're harder on the property. Anytime you have 3 different personalities in a house, they're going to be harder on the property. It's just really not a good idea, Steve. But if you are going to do it, a lease on each one of them. A lease on each one of them. Okay. Phone lines are open, 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-KSEV. This next is from a Lewis. I'm starting out wholesaling, and I've heard about purchasing a motivated seller list. Lewis is listening in Florida, but have no idea how to purchase one of these lists. Okay, purchasing the lists are not difficult. If you'll Google it and finish off the Google, motivated sellers, Miami area, you're going to come up with some places where you can buy lists. But I've got to tell you, Lewis, that is not the best way to do it. And the reason it's not is because every book and tape guy, shows my age, book and CD seller that comes to town is selling what? Wholesaling, and then they're selling, get those lists. So those lists can be very, very saturated. Do they work? Yes. But that's not the only source, Lewis. You also want to build a team of realtors along with your lists to find deals as well. I use a technique where I cultivate a group of about 24 agents that know me by name, know what I'm looking for, and so on. I got this from Carlton Sheets. Better give him credit. This whole dissertation I'm about to give came from Carlton Sheets. Great information. But anyway, line up about 24 agents that know you by name, know what you're looking for. And what happens with real estate agents is if they don't know investors who can pay cash or use hard money, they just pass up distressed property as a rule, especially if there's anything wrong with it, such as roof's bad, foundation's bad. They almost always walk away from those deals, and those deals are gold. They walk away from them even if they're missing carpet, because they won't qualify for a conventional loan, and that's the only thing that most real estate agents know how to use. So they pass up on those deals. Well, Lewis, they get a call from you, and you say, look, I've got a list of 40 buyers, and you better have that list, Lewis. You better not be looking for deals before you build your buyers list. That is backwards. It's not effective, and you'll destroy your reputation when you can't close the deals because you don't have a buyers list. Get your buyers list first. Answer simple. Join a real estate investor group in Miami and start collecting names of investors. Find out what they want and then go find those style deals. But get those 24 agents to know your name, know what you're looking for, and that you do have cash buyers and that you do have hard money buyers that can close in 15 days. Some cash buyers can close in as little as 5 days. And what will happen is the next time that agent accidentally comes across a piece of crap property that won't qualify for a conventional mortgage that a normal buyer couldn't buy, he'll call you. And boom, you got a deal. Okay, this is the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I'm your host, Steve Davis. Call me at 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV. You're listening to AM 700 KSEV, the voice of Texas. Thanks for listening. Did you know that 95% of Americans fail to retire by age 65 and 36% are dead? The good news is that here at the GetRealWealth.com radio show, we know what the other 5% are doing. 70% of them own real estate. We are a mentoring group for new and experienced real estate investors. We will show you how to build a second stream of income that will allow you to retire at any age. I will be explaining this at a free 2-hour introductory workshop this month. If you would like to attend, please go to GetRealWealth.com. That's GetRealWealth.com. Welcome back to the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I'm your host, Steve Davis. Remember, you can always find us online at GetRealWealth.com. We are having, this is a specific call out to Rich Club members. If you are a member of the Rich Club or a former member of the Rich Club, either way, we're doing a special event tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. That event is the final Rich Club event. The Rich Club is no longer in existence. And to find out about that, you go to getrealwealth.com/rich. And you can find out the dates and find out the times and make a reservation. If you're not a member of Rich, the next event that I'm teaching is the following Tuesday, and that is from 6:30 to 8:30. And yes, we're done and out of there before 8:30, so you can still enjoy St. Patrick's Day. If you want to come see that workshop, go to getrealwealth.com. In the upper right-hand corner, it will say free workshop. getrealwealth.com, upper right-hand corner, free workshop, and you can reserve a seat there as well. Okay, this last segment, I want to talk about the other subject that I posted to all the social media platforms this morning, and that is I hate the linear method of life. Hate it. It destroys your time. And what is life but time? And what am I talking about? I had somebody ask for the reading list, and I sent them the reading list. And then they emailed me back, okay, I'll come see your free workshop as soon as I finish these 5 books. What? What are you talking about? That's the linear method. It will destroy your life. In other words, in his mind, and I already poked fun at him, so even if he's listening, he won't care. If you go, I'm going to read 5 books. As soon as I finish those 5 books, then I'm going to take Steve's 2-day class. Then after I take his 2-day class, then I'm going to, and you do everything in a row, one after the other. It could take you 10 times as long to accomplish your goals. Do everything at once. You need to have 4 or 5 things going at the same time. Now, I do understand multitasking is not effective in certain ways. I'm looking for another word, but I can't come up with it. In other words, I'm not saying do 4 things at the same time. I mean the exact same time. But I'm saying you need to be reading, you need to be attending workshops, you need to be finding a mentor, you need to be writing offers, you need to be getting pre-qualified. Don't do that linearly. Like I said, it could take you years to accomplish what you could accomplish in months by doing 4 or 5 things at the same time. So please do not do the linear method. If I send you a reading list, don't do what this guy was thinking about doing, waiting till you read all 5 books to take my 2-day class. That's crazy. Do it at the same time. It will cut years off of your learning process. Do it all at the same time. So whenever you hear me talking or putting down the linear process, that's what I'm talking about. It's doing things one right after the other and waiting until you finish one to start the next one. The other thing I found about it was boring. And maybe that's just me because I've got a little ADD, and I prefer, like, take my day today. I did 2 or 3 hours on a PowerPoint, studied for the show, maybe an hour, hit the gym for an hour, ran some errands. My printer went out. I had to go replace the printer. You know, I did about 10 different things. That's way better for me than me just sitting for 6 hours or 8 hours working on a PowerPoint. Wouldn't work for me. I would be bored senseless. So think about that. Are you doing things linearly? if you are, I promise you, it's going to take you much, much, much longer to accomplish your goals than if you do multiple things at the same time. Multiple things at the same time. By the way, I put that reading list together this morning. If anybody wants it and they want a copy of The Richest Man in Babylon, just email me. I'll give you that reading list and a copy of The Richest Man in Babylon. It's a digital copy. There was some confusion the other day when I made this offer. It's a digital copy. I'm not mailing you a book. It's a digital thing you can read on. You can print it, I guess, if you want, or you can read it right on your computer. But just email me reading list in the subject line, and I'll send you both the reading list and the book. It's asksteve@getrealwealth.com. asksteve@getrealwealth.com. And the first 4 books on the list are the most important. And here comes a brag, I have made millions of dollars off of each of those books. No exaggeration. Because I read those 4 books, if I had not read them and mastered the material in them, I would not be in the financial position that I'm in today. These books are phenomenal. So believe in them, read them, study them, devour them, and then execute what they tell you to do. And you'll get the same results I have. They're phenomenal. So my email again, if you want that reading list, just put in the subject line, reading list, asksteve@getrealwealth.com, asksteve@getrealwealth.com. Okay, let's take a few more listener questions. This is actually a Bigger Pockets question from Takira, property investor from Springfield, I guess that's Massachusetts. As a landlord, would you rather hire a property manager or be your own property manager? Well, this is a really loaded question. And what I'm going to find out is a lot about Takira. What are her goals? How many hours a week does she work now? What is her goal hours per week? Does she mind working a few extra hours a month to run her own property? Because you're always going to make more money running your own property than you would letting somebody else run it if you get yourself educated and take a property management course. If you're out there on your own and you don't have a mentor and you're kind of, I call it arrogance. I'm not going to take a course. Okay, then let somebody else manage it, because you don't know what you're doing. And you're not going to figure it out trial and error. You're going to burn yourself, and then you'll be running around go, real estate doesn't work, real estate. No, you were the one that didn't work. You didn't take a course on property management, and you got slaughtered. So my answer to Takira is going to be, it depends. If she's already working 60, 70 hours a week, I have no problem with her starting off with a property management company. She also may have the goal of never managing property. I don't mind if you go forever with a property manager. But a competent owner, meaning they've taken a course like mine on property management, they're going to run it and make more money than if they let somebody else run it. But if you think you're going to learn this by trial and error, don't do that. Just go ahead and hire somebody else to run it so you don't end up sued or whatever. So I'm gonna have 2 or 3 conversations, which is what they call the back and forth. I'm gonna have 2 or 3 conversations with her, find out what her position is, what her goals are, and then we'll determine whether she should run them herself or she should have someone else run them. If you are thinking about having somebody run your properties, I do have a great referral for you. Steve Rosenberg of mind.co, C-O, M-Y-N-D, M-Y-N-D.co. And he's probably the most credible property manager that I've met so far. I intend to meet some more this year, but he is incredible. He was actually on the show about 2 weeks ago, I think. Yeah, 2 weeks ago. So there's my non-answer to Kira, but we will get some back and forth going, and I will share the back and forth with everybody on Monday. So we'll get the answer to Kira's question on Monday, and you'll see what she decides. Okay, this is a question. Oh, I'm going to skip that one. Oh, this one drives me nuts. Some attorney talked a guy into having series LLCs for his single-family rent properties. Not good. Practically useless. Remember, there's 3 layers of protection for liability. An LLC, your insurance, and your property management style. Guess which the weakest one is? You guessed it, the LLC. Your biggest and most powerful defense against liability is your management style. If you focus on helping and serving your tenants and you take care of your asset, the real estate itself, it's very, very, very difficult to get sued. Then, if you do get sued, you have $1 million umbrella policy above it. They don't sue you, they sue the insurance. The insurance pays them off, and they go away because they don't want your house. They want money. Okay, this has been the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I'm your host, Steve Davis. Thanks for listening. This is AM 700 KSEV, the voice of Texas. Thanks for listening.
This has been the GetRealWealth.com radio show. Please remember that this show is for entertainment purposes only and should not be construed as legal, tax, or investing advice. Always get a professional opinion before making any investment decision. To find out about the mentoring and consulting at Real Wealth Academy, visit GetRealWealth.com and attend one of our free introductory workshops on real estate investing. That's GetRealWealth.com. Thanks for listening and have a great rest of your day.